Hello guys, my name is Adrian and welcome to my channel. If you are new to the channel, I'm trying here to create a game engine in order to be used for some future games. So far, in our previous videos, we just implemented a window that still doesn't have an OpenGL context. We cannot draw anything inside it, but we handle the close event so far. And today it comes to some, let's say, easier part where we'll implement a window manager. So, if you are new to the channel, also I'm doing this with C++. I will use OpenGL for the game engine at first. Later on, we will switch it to Vulkan. And I'm planning to not use any existing C++ library from the internet. So we'll do everything ourselves, or at least we will try. Of course, the progress will be a little slower, but in the end, at least we will learn something new. So what I want to do today. First, I will explain what we have so far. We have a base folder where we have our window base class. We have the window events base class. And we have a folder windows where we kind of handle specific code for different platforms. Okay. Of course, these classes are not yet final. We are still working on them. So, the first thing that I want to do, I want to create a new header in the base class, and I will call it Platforms Factory. Why this name? Because, like we have in our main file, we have a window and we initialize it with a specific type of the window that we want based on the platform. But so far, we don't handle that. Okay, so instead of doing this every time, new windows, new windows, window events, and so on, I want to create a specific factory. Okay, just a second. And of course, I will have a base platforms factory and I will have a Windows platforms factory. Okay. First, of course, we need to include this here. And now, what we need to do is to change the namespace. Of course, that's very important. Okay, and what I want to do further, I want to include with core base platform factory. I want to put a final here, some public core. Just a second to check. Okay, we don't have yet class here. Let's add it, of course, and because it's inside the base folder, we'll put it under the namespace core base class platforms factory. This is a simple base class for now. We don't do anything more than that. Core base platform. Okay, so how this will work? We'll have something like this. Let's include also this one. Let's include, of course, the one that are in the windows. Why not? And how it will work? It will work like this. We'll have something like auto, or we can skip the auto part, let's say, for now. Let's have a constant std unique pointer. Okay. Let's include also the memory header. Unique, and we'll have core base, window, not window, sorry, platforms factory, and we'll have a platforms factory here, and it will be equal with std make unique, and we will do the windows in our case. So far, nothing very different. Okay, if we want, we can kind of course, this is not used yet, we will use it. So instead of doing this every time, For example, imagine that this will be also a unique pointer, core base window. Okay, let's adapt the code here and let's make this unique. Make unique, and we have this scenario. Okay, why not? Let's do it also for the window events. Core window events. Okay, just a second, one more variable here. Okay, good. So now we have our pointers. We just use the smart pointers from C++. The situation is not different than what we had before. But now we don't need to care about calling the delete element when we kind of allocate with new. So we have this platforms factory and we are doing this. But instead of doing this every time, like make unique and all that stuff, what we can do, we can go in the platforms factory into the base class. First, let's have a default destructor. And after that, we can have something like this. Virtual auto. And we'll have something like create window, for example, which will return a unique pointer for the window. Okay, that simple. We can have the same for create window events. And we will create a unique pointer for the window events equal with 0. Just a second, let's include the header in order to be okay with it. Good. So now we have, let's say, with codes problem. If we are running the code, we'll have an error. Why? Because in our platform factory that should be called with big letters, in here we need to kind of inherit those two functions that we just wrote in the platforms factory. Okay. So what we will do inside, let's generate a definition for them. And in here it's kind of pretty simple. We'll have a core unique, but what we will do, we will be sure that we are not using and not returning the base. We'll return just whatever we have here for the window. The same needs to be done also for the window events. And now, how do we use this? It's kind of very simple. Just a second, let's call it with a proper name. So here now, instead of caring about like if this should be a window, it should be a Linux window, doesn't matter. In the end, how we will use it, it will be platforms factory, create a window. That's it. And platform factory, create window events. We can use auto directly, and this will ensure now that, hey, we are returning, okay, we are creating. Now, of course, this is for the base. This will ensure that we kind of create some base classes, okay, core base, but this for sure will return this one, the implementation from the Windows. Let's give it a spin to see how it is behaving. So we have the same behavior, but the code now, we don't need to, let's say, worry anymore about when I'm creating the window, hey, I use it the proper window or not. This factory, this platform factory will ensure for us that we kind of nailed the right platform for it. What I want to do further, I want to create a new class called Window Manager. Okay, let's make it part of this. Target sources, project name, public window manager. let's put some spaces here. And what we will do with this class. Okay. What I want to do with this class, it's kind of pretty simple. First, let's also include it here. Window, sorry. Core window manager. Okay. Let's, for example, let's create a window manager. So, what is the purpose of this window manager? It's instead of having this variable like in here, because later on we will add some window context, some window input, and all that. We don't want to have all the variables in the whole places, and we want to keep them together in this window manager. At first, I was thinking to make this window manager as a singleton, but now I don't want to do that. It will be just a single instance, and later on it will be part of the game engine class that we still don't have now. So, one or two functions that we need to add in this window manager are very simple. Init and release. Okay, let me align this thing a little. Good. So, probably we'll have something like this. Window manager init, and at the end, window manager release. Okay, pretty simple. What I want to do further, for my window manager, I want to have some private elements, and it will be a core base window, which I will call window. Of course, I can drop the redundant qualifier because we are in the same namespace, and the same I will do for events. Okay. So I'm having this variable here. Variables. Sorry. For them, we need, of course, to kind of create something like a window which will return a reference to it. Sorry, not here. So I know that these are some pointers. Okay, because we need to have them as a pointer, because we have that polymorphism there, and kind of have a base pointer, and to put in it whatever the version of the platform will be. Okay, so for this we cannot make it as a, let's say, element like directly. So let's continue. And I want to make it as a reference to be sure that it's not, let's say, used differently. We'll have something for the window events for sure. These are some, let's say, getters. We probably will not use them at some point, and maybe we will remove them. But for now, let's have them here. Okay. Now, let's generate each of the methods. Okay, let's make a small increment here. Good. So, what we are doing inside the init function. Inside the init, we will do something like this. We'll have something like platforms factory, which will do something similar to what we have in the main here. Okay. But what is the difference? Now, here we will use window equal with platforms factory create window, and the same we'll do for the window events. Okay. And now later on, what we can do, we can call create, show, or even having all the stuff moves from them. But for now, I want to use just the init part. I want just to create these elements. Later on, the create and the show, maybe they will be part of it. But for now, let's keep it a little simple. So now what we can do, we can remove these parts, and what we can have is like window manager, window. Let's put some, and because it's not a pointer anymore, it's a reference directly to our pointer, we can use it like this. So one part is solved, another part needs to come here. So just a second. Sorry. Okay. We are still like this. Let's make it very simple now. Point for the window. Let's give it something like this. And like this. Now we can remove the memory because we are not using that, and we can remove that. So this is our new main file, a little more cleaner, and we moved some code around. Let's see. Now our window needs to return a reference to it, and the same for the window events. Let's run right now and see how we are doing. So we are back to square one. Inside the release, what we can have, for example, we can have the window destroy if we want, why not? And now, of course, we can move this part from here. Let's put this at the end. And if we want, we can move this part also. So what we want to do in the release is to have the window events release with a pointer to our window handle. Let's see. Now we can remove already this part, which is kind of very nice, right? So if we are running and we are waiting for CLion to run first, we have the same window, but you can see already that it makes more sense now than what we had before. Okay. If we wanted, we can move this part with the update inside some update function and all that stuff, but I don't want that. I want my window manager to be linear. I don't want to update anything. I want just to initialize some things, some components, and I want to release them. Okay. I will let engine to take care of other stuff. For now, it's more than enough. For our window manager here, we use the window events names and all that stuff. We could have something like events if we wanted, but the whole idea probably will have some other class called event at some point. Not inside this module especially, but it will be inside the whole. It can be in the graphics or in the common module and so on. So in order to avoid that, we'll keep this as window events. What we can do further, if we want, we can go like this part. It can go like here. Windows create. We can have it if we want here. Doesn't make to have something like here we kind of create the parts, and now here we initialize. Why not? Doesn't do anything. So now the show, I will like to keep it, and I will like to have it like in here. Okay, it's very important. We initialized everything, and after that we are displaying the window. That's very important. Okay, and now what we can do, we can move also this part if we want, and we can let for now just this part outside. If you want later on, we can move it inside also, but I don't want that. for now. So the same can apply to, like I said, let's see, window events init, and let's have just this. Of course, this is a pointer. So, yep, we kind of, let's have it like this. Okay, makes more sense. Okay, so we are creating the window. That's one thing. We are creating the window. We, of course, call the create function. We are creating the window events, and of course, we initialize it. So now our main file, it's more cleaner. And by using this window manager, we let some initializing code that is very specific to the window in general. And inside here, we will initialize the window context that is responsible for OpenGL. We'll initialize window events. We do that already, sorry, window input, and so on. And this is much easier, simple, makes more sense, and all that stuff. So I think this is it for today. This is what our window manager will be. I will not make it a singleton. Okay, maybe it makes sense to make it a singleton, but in order to be access it, like to access it in all other places around the framework, one of the places that it makes sense to be a singleton, if we didn't use these situations with the properties, we kind of needed to have it in here in order to kind of call the event. But other than that, this is what we have so far with our framework. We cleaned up a little the things. Okay, it makes more sense. It's more cleaner. We kind of moved some code, some initializing code, or how you want to call it. We move it inside the window manager. And yeah, this is it for today. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. I will answer all your comments and all your questions. This is another step that we take forward for our game framework. In the next video, we'll talk about the OpenGL context that we create for the window. It's still something related to the platforms. And probably in the future, after that, we will do something about the input. So, thanks for watching. Have a nice day and see you in the next video. Bye bye.